So a few days ago, I spoke at a virtual event hosted by the Ladies' Place. The convener is Regina Okoro, and I was invited to speak on the power of healing. The feedback since I delivered that talk has been so powerful. And I just thought it would be a huge disfavor not to share that with my podcast family, with my awesome podcast listeners. So, I know it's not your typical podcast episode, but I really think you're going to get so much value from this teaching, and I hope you do. So, without further ado, let's get right into this teaching. Hi, I'm God's Delight Agu, and this is the Owning It podcast. Being a woman is hard enough, but being a woman in Africa, even harder. You're expected to be a good daughter, a good wife, a good mother, and still slay in your career. There are expectations from everywhere: family, friends, culture, society, religion, the list goes on. And every day we face challenges: physical, emotional, financial, and even professional. Sometimes you stop and wonder, is all of this even worth it? Owning It is a podcast where African women tell unfiltered stories of resilience, healing, and truth in their own words. We're here to help women own their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. As a storyteller and lover of stories myself, I'll be inviting some of my female friends and women I deeply admire. Together, we'll laugh, cry, unlearn, and grow as they share the battles they fought, the boldness it took to become who they are. If you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or unworthy, this space is for you. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so be sure to subscribe and join the conversation every week. Like Michelle Obama once said, your story is what you have, what you always have. It is something to own. So let's own it together. Welcome to the Owning It podcast. Good evening, wonderful ladies. How are we doing? Hope you had a great Monday. Hope you had a very great Monday. All right. So first of all, first things first, I want to really appreciate Sister Regina, Pastor Regina, like I'll call her. She will say, Auntie, calm down. I really want to appreciate her for inviting me to share with you this evening. And like you already know, like has been advertised, the topic for this teaching is the power of healing. And it is a topic that is very dear to my heart. When Regina reached out to me, she wanted me to talk about mental health because I'm a mental health educator and advocate. And there are a lot of topics when it comes to mental health. There is burnout, there's stress, there's depression, there's anxiety. And after we had agreed, okay, I could talk about burnout and anxiety, I kept on thinking about it. I was like, nah, this is not something I would like to share with my sisters. It's not like women don't experience anxiety and burnout, but I would really like to talk about something that I feel very drawn to, something that feels very natural to me, and that is healing. That is healing. I know some of you will be wondering, why exactly are we talking about healing? What are we healing from exactly? The truth is, every one of us, we all have different wounds. For some women here, it's like childhood wounds, childhood traumas that you've experienced. For some, is abuse. For some, they were neglected while they were growing up. For some, it was rejection. For some, is academic and career setbacks. You see people graduate from university and they don't have jobs, and you are so heartbroken, and a lot of time keeps going. For some, is relationship trauma. I know a lot of women can relate to this. Heartbreak, betrayals, toxic circles. For some, is life disappointments. For some, is the loss of a loved one, is grief, is shame, is comparison. And sometimes we actually don't even realize that we are carrying pain until it shows up in our choices, in our relationships, in how we see ourselves. Personally, I never even knew that, I needed to heal from anything. I just felt okay, I'm just existing and I'm doing good and nothing come out. Till a point came last year when I realized that, oh my God, my whole life is a lie and I need to heal. And in my very short time here on earth, I've experienced trauma at different points in my life. And as someone who believes in storytelling, as someone who believes in the power of storytelling, I'll just be telling a couple of my own stories because I believe that's how humans are able to connect with other humans. Instead of me coming to say a lot of facts and figures, it feels better when I tell you my own true authentic stories, and we'll just take it up from there. So I really hope we are active, we enjoy this class, and we just keep the conversation rolling. Okay, so the very first story I would like to share this evening is my very first experience as a human being. So the very first thing I experienced, and I know a lot of women can relate to this story, and I'm really glad. I'm always happy whenever I'm talking with women. Uh, Um, my very first experience as a child was being exposed to child sexual abuse. So at the very tender age of 4, I was sexually abused. And it didn't just stop at one person. It didn't just stop at that one time. It went on for years. It went on for years from when I was 4 till like when I was 9. So it's different people, different places, taking advantage of me, messing up with my mind. I couldn't tell anyone. I hated people because in my own case, for some people, abuse happens from like the same it happens from like the opposite gender. Okay, a man abusing a girl. But in my own case, abuse came from like both genders. So it's almost like everyone wants to take advantage of me. Everyone wants to abuse me. Everyone wants to make a mess of me. I was so angry as a child. I was full of pain. I was full of anger. I was so angry as a child, like so, so, so angry, and I could not tell anyone what was wrong. There was even no way to tell. I couldn't talk to my parents about it. I couldn't talk to any teachers or anybody about it. My parents didn't know what was going on, and I was just, all of these things just kept on happening over the years. They just kept on happening. And a point in my life, there was a time, I think about when I was 7, I actually got raped by someone who should be like maybe 18, 20 then. And he was just like a school leaver around and all of that. And it messed with my mind. I actually passed out because my body was so young for that amount of pain and pressure. And, took me to the hospital and all. I think, I don't, it was so bad, but somehow when I was taken to the hospital and everything, they were unable to identify what the problem was. They just said I was having a convulsion, I was having this, I was having that, but I knew what was wrong, but I could not talk about it. I hated people, not just males. I hated human beings. I hated physical touch. I hated having anything to do with anyone. And that was the time when I developed my skills as a writer because the pen was my only safe space. The pen was my only companion. And it was so, so bad. There was a point in everything as a child when I got it up to here because I was having nightmares. I was always angry. I just wanted to end my own life. And I attempted suicide. I attempted throwing myself into a well so that I would just die, just end it all up. I was so, so, so traumatized, and it went on for years. And when the abuse had ended, the aftermath was, becoming dealing with masturbation. I don't know if there's anyone here who have had a similar experience too. When you are stuck in an addiction because you want to overcome the pain that you're facing. And this is why healing is important, because when you do not heal, you find coping mechanisms in order to divert the attention from the actual problem. So that is story number one, being abused as a child, struggling with masturbation addiction for years before I finally found God. But I don't want to go all religious on you yet. Let's just keep it going to the second story. So the second traumatic experience I faced was struggling to get admission into uni from for 3 years. So after all of my addiction to masturbation and struggling, trying to heal from my childhood abuse experiences without even knowing what to do, I just knew that I had no abusers anymore. We had relocated from where we were because my parents are pastors, and the abuse started in church. And when we had relocated to a different place, we moved from Kaduna to Aba. My entire focus was that, you know what, in this new city, I'm going to prioritize my studies, because experiencing all those childhood abuse made me a very, very dull student. I wasn't supposed to be a dull student, but I was a dull student because of all the abuse I was experiencing. So, but when I got into secondary school at age 10, all of a sudden, my intelligence started coming out. I was first term JS, I was like fourth position. Second term, I was like second. Third term, I was like second. I was like, okay, so I'm actually brilliant. There was just one person in front of me. So this went on throughout my junior secondary school. I was top of my class throughout my so getting into senior secondary school, I became a science student. I had a dream. The dream was to actually become a medical doctor and become a psychiatrist. For those that don't know, a psychiatrist is a mental health doctor. So yeah, that is what I wanted to dedicate my life to. Road jam first time, 271, no admission. Road jam second time, 264, no admission. Road jam third time, 294. I got admission to study PSB. Okay, no, AEB. AEB is Animal and Environmental Biology, University of Port Harcourt then. Fifth list was pharmacy. Still not what I wanted, still not medicine. But somehow I got into pharmacy, and yeah. But those years that I had to stay back writing JAMB, especially as someone who, because 271, 264, these are very high JAMB scores. 294, there were people that were not even scoring up to like 200, but they had all gotten into school. My mates were in like 300 level, and I was still writing JAMB. It was actually very, very painful, right? It was painful seeing my mates go ahead of me and I was just there. It was a very traumatic incident, because in those years, I saw even people that were not qualified were offered admission because their parents gave money. Their parents gave money and they found their way. I saw people who were children who their parents were lecturers. They were getting opportunities that I deserved. And even when I got into Uniport and I saw people who had gotten admission to study medicine, I still even found out that it wasn't exactly like these people did better than me in JAMB or in my WAEC. But it was just simply because, Nigeria is Nigeria, and Nigeria will happen to you. And Nigeria happened to me, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart. And I was extremely, extremely traumatized. Leaving secondary school at 16 and entering secondary school at 19, university at 19. It was really, really painful. So that's story number 2. So let's move on to the third story. So my third story for tonight is getting into Uniport, getting into pharmacy school. I did everything I could. I worked hard. I studied. But for some reasons, it just did not feel like a place I was supposed to be. It just felt like I was forcing myself. I'm a storyteller. I'm a writer. I love telling stories. I just love storytelling in whatever medium, be it through writing, be it through speaking, be it through teaching, be it through film. I just love telling stories. So being in an environment that did not support my creativity in any way, I even hated biology. Imagine someone who wants to become a medical doctor hating biology. The part of science I just liked was calculations. Just give me maths, give me further. Imagine my WIAC was A1 in further maths and physics, just for you to see. Someone who wanted to be, someone who wanted to be a doctor that hated biology. Then becoming a pharmacy student and having to deal with anatomy, dealing with physiology, dealing with biochemistry, dealing with all that pharmacy courses that involved a mixture of biology and chemistry, it was a whole lot for me. It was a whole lot for me, but I tried my best. I still worked really hard. I still worked extremely hard. I still studied, went for every night class, attended tutorials, did everything within my ability to make sure that, because one thing about me is that anything I want to do, I like to give it my 100%. I like to be the best at it. So that was Uniports. Then by my second year, which was 2020, we all know what happened in 2020. COVID happened. And when COVID happened, we all were all locked down. So we had done like 3 months into our first semester when COVID happened, and we just had like a few more days to exam, like a week or two to exams of first semester. Then when everywhere shut down, we all went to our different destinations. We left school in March, and nobody came back to school till January 2019. And by January 2019, they were now like, okay, your exams are forthcoming. So turns out that first semester I failed 2 courses. Long story short, in pharmacy school, you're only permitted to fail a total of 4 courses in a semester. And when you talk about failing courses, we're talking about 50% and above, and some courses are 60%. So I did fail 2 courses. One of the courses was pharmaceutical chemistry, which was like a 50% benchmark, and another was dispensing, which was a 60% benchmark. And when I failed these 2 courses, okay, I worked so hard in second semester, and I did so well. I got like 4 A's, 3 B's, 1 C. My results were beautiful. So I knew I didn't have any receipts. So I just had to focus on my receipt for first semester. Okay, I wrote the exams. I cleared pharmaceutical chemistry, and I still failed dispensing. The 60% course, I still failed dispensing. And when I failed dispensing, it meant that I needed to repeat a year in pharmacy school. And that was a moment of truth for me. That was a moment for me to ask myself a question that I've been avoiding. I asked myself, if I graduate as a pharmacist, do I really want to practice pharmacy? And the answer was no. I don't see myself practicing pharmacy. I don't see myself becoming a pharmacist, because I've tried to make inquiries. Is there any route from becoming a pharmacist to becoming studying pharmacy to becoming a psychiatrist? And they said no. If you want to be a psychiatrist, you still have to go back and study medicine in order to become a psychiatrist. And I'm like, okay, let me take a 1 year break. From 1 year break, it's actually been 4 years that I left pharmacy school. As of the time I left pharmacy school, I was a first class student. I wasn't a dull student. And now my age mates are what? My age mates are all graduated, or mostly, yeah, actually most of them are graduated. There are a few of them who had issues that are still in school, but that's like maybe like 10% of my classmates that are still in school. They are now pharmacists. They've done their induction. They are now pharmacists. And it feels heartbreaking to know that I started this journey with these people. First of all, not only am I not a pharmacist, I have not been able to get a degree, even in any other thing. And it can be very traumatic. It was traumatic to me, because someone might listen to me speaking and be like, oh, you're so smart, but I'm so smart, but I do not have a degree. Does it really mean I am smart? So yeah, that is story number 3. So story number 4 might even break you more, but I'll tell it anyway. So story number 4 is me getting into a relationship in my second year in Uniports, actually in 2021. So I as a smart person, I've always loved smart people, and I've always aspired that, whoever is going to be my future partner has to be extremely smart, because both of my parents are smart people and I'm smart. So I can't be with somebody that is not smart. And getting into school, there are these things that I don't know, some of our parents do. They put it into our head that, okay, when you get into university, that's the time for you to find your life partner. Because once you come out, the next thing is marriage. That's the next thing. So yeah, I had that in my head, because even my mom, that's how she met her husband. My mom met my father in her first day. After her second day, she married my father. She was in my father's house when she finally graduated and, finished everything that she finished. So, um, I got into during the COVID year 2020. There's this guy in school, and he was nice. He was a fellowship lead. We had this fellowship, National Fellowship for Christian Pharmacy Students, NFCPS. And I was a member of NFCPS. I was an active member of NFCPS, and he was our level fellowship leader. And I did talk about addiction to masturbation. So because of where I was coming from, as someone who struggled, who experienced child sexual abuse, and dealing with masturbation addiction, it felt like masturbation addiction was going to be the end of my life. It felt that way. And I had to get to a point where I just knew that if God does not help me, hey, yes, I was born into a Christian family. My parents are Christians. My parents are even ministers of the gospel. But on a personal basis, I wouldn't say at that time that I had a relationship with God. So it had to get to like that masturbation addiction. I had to tell God, hey, if you don't help me, just so that this thing is going to kill me. I had to get into like a covenant with God and have conversations around the masturbation thing. And with his help, I was able to stay clear. So that was when I would say my journey with faith or my relationship with God, I started getting serious about my personal relationship with God. So I had a personal relationship with God. And when we go to school, they tell us, oh, when you get to university, please, don't, pick a side. Either you are for God or you are for Satan. And if you are not for God, cultists and all these people, they put in all this fear in us when we're getting into school. So that was the fear. That was all the things that was put inside of me. And I was like, this is our fellowship. I'm going to take it very seriously. So somehow this my brother in fellowship. We became close, became good friends during COVID. We're talking. And I made a decision. I don't even know at what point I made that decision, but I remember I made a decision that I did not want to get into any romantic relationship till I was 21. For whatever reasons, I don't know why, but I just know I told myself that thing and I stuck by it. A lot of people were coming, asking me to be their girlfriend. I said, no, I'm not ready to be in a relationship till I'm 21. So 2 weeks to my 21st birthday, I was already heads over heel in love with this person. And I was like, you know what? I like you. Let's start a relationship. So that was how it all started. It was good. We're like, okay, we're going to be a Christian couple. And you know what being a Christian couple entails, right? This is a fellowship for, this is a group for Christian sisters. So yeah, we're going to be a Christian couple. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. But just shortly into the relationship, I started noticing that, this my Christian brother might not really be as spiritual and as Christian as I imagined that he is. So first things first, one time he wanted to kiss me. From wanting to kiss me, eventually kissed me till, other things. Till sex happened. First time, second time, third time, repeatedly kept happening. And I got stuck. I got stuck. I got stuck. I lost myself completely because I did not recognize myself anymore. That was not my plan. My plan was get into a relationship with somebody in school, you get to know each other, and then after school, you get married, and then whatever, you can now do whatever it is. And, I just became who I did not recognize anymore. Gradually, this person became my God. This person gradually became a God to me. This person gradually took the place of God, really, because when I wake up in the morning, I think about him. When I sleep at night, I think about him. Every day I see him, it's him. I couldn't say no. There was really nothing he would tell me that I cannot say no to. Were there red flags? Of course, a lot of red flags. The fact that, sometimes I'll notice these old things with some other girls, but he would just tell me, oh, it's nothing. I noticed that he had a thing for like children. When I talk about abuse and my experiences with abuse, he'll just feel like, oh, I'm overreacting. I'm just made all my feelings, he manipulated me a lot, tried to separate me, isolate me from my friends, tried to just make me believe that he was just the only one in this world that can love me. All of a sudden, I did not even recognize what I was doing anymore. I'll break up with him. He will stay like weeks. He will ghost on me. He won't speak to me. I'll keep calling him. I'll keep crying. I'll keep pleading. I'll keep begging. And then let's even talk about the fact that this was somebody that, you know, this is someone that has like introduced me to sex. So there was sex in the relationship, and there is me begging him. Like, my sisters, I was 21 when I started loving this man, and this man was 28. First year, I was there. Second year, I was there. Third year, I was there. At first, when we started, he was like, I want to come and see your parents. I want to start this. And I'll be like, no, 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 it's too early. No, 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 I'm not ready. But then when we were like 2 years, 3 years in, if I brought up the whole issue, you'll be like, what's the rush? I'm like, what is the rush? Are you kidding me? He'll stay weeks. He won't communicate with me. If I'm in need and I put a call to him, he's not the person to help. So eventually, the only thing that we were sharing, the only thing that we had in common was just anytime he wants to have sex, I'm now the only person that he would call. I was treating infection on a regular basis. I didn't even know. Like, I was treating infection repeatedly. I didn't know that my boyfriend, my fellowship brother boyfriend, was actually, what in social media language you call a community prick. I did not know, what this was. So, with the help of my very good friend Amaka, when I had to move to Lagos because I was living in Port Harcourt at the time. He was in Port Harcourt. I had to leave Lagos. I had to leave Port Harcourt to Lagos to realize that, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Like, am I foolish? Am I mad? Like, my friend had to bring it because I was always making excuses for this man. I'll be like, oh my God, he's busy. He's a pharmacy student. He's busy. The person won't call me in days, in weeks, and I'm making excuses, and I'm like, he's busy. And then my friend Amaka had to ask me, if you were married to this guy now and he had a work trip that is taking him out of the city that you live in, and from the day he leaves till the day he returns, he does not call you. Let's say he's away for like 3 weeks because he's actually going to be busy with work. How are you going to feel about it? At that moment, I thought about it and I was like, okay, that's actually true. At that point, being in the relationship and leaving the relationship, there was really no difference because I was already in so much pain. I had lost my self-worth. I had lost everything that should make me should make me a human being. I had lost my faith. I stopped going to church. I stopped praying. I stopped reading the Bible. I stopped, and everything was just. But this person was still very committed in his church. He was still, he was still fellowship lead, and I was so broken. I was so broken. I was so broken. Not only did I feel like I disappointed God, not only was it that we were having sex on a regular basis, there was also at some point a pregnancy, and these things broke me. These things broke me. So I know that listening to some of these my stories, you could probably see elements of maybe your own personal experiences in some of the things I have shared. Maybe you've been in a relationship where, you were not seen, you were not appreciated, you had to do things that you did not want to do. Okay, let me even let me even tell you the craziest part of everything. Because one way I express my pain, one way I get through my emotions is actually by writing. So at the time when I ended my relationship with my ex, I wrote about everything that happened in that relationship, and I posted it on my Substack newsletter. When I posted it, for some reasons, it went out. People that knew me, that knew him, read it, got in contact with him and all. And when he was actually still in a relationship with me and he had another girlfriend, so his girlfriend saw it and reached out to me and was like, this guy is my boyfriend. And I'm like, okay, what's happening? Things like that. And turns out that the same pattern, it's all the same pattern. She too got pregnant for him. She too had, very, very crazy stuff. Very, very crazy stuff. And when she confronted him, he was like, he was never in love with me. He never asked me out. He was never in a relationship with me. I was just his reading partner. I was just his study buddy. I was just his friend. There was nothing going on between us. And I went mad. Like, do you know what it means? That not only did you hurt me, you are denying the whole you are like, you want 4 years of my life to just disappear like that. Like, it does not exist anymore. Each of these experiences actually left wounds for a very long time. I was ashamed. I was angry. I was disappointed in myself. I felt like maybe I was not good enough, you know. But today, I'm someone that have come to realize the value of healing. I have experienced what healing can do to a person. And that is why I'm an advocate for healing. 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 That is what I preach. That is what I talk about every single time. In every of yesterday, I had my monthly meetings. In every of the things that I do on my podcast, you hear me talk about healing. On my writing, I just keep talking about healing, because if you experience healing, our society is full of a lot of broken people everywhere, carrying bags of trauma everywhere they are, and they don't know that they need to heal. Trust me, healing is not just moving on or pretending like nothing happened, because that's what most of us do. We just pretend like nothing happened. Healing is the process of becoming whole again, in your mind, in your body, in your soul. It's not the absence of pain. It is the transformation of pain into strength. Trust me, when my relationship with my ex ended, it broke me, because I knew who I was, because before I met this person, and I saw what my life looked like in those 4 years, how I had lost myself, how I didn't even recognize myself anymore, how somehow my whole world and my whole life revolved around this man. And at the end of the day, he was like, he didn't even ask me out. He accused me of like, oh, She was sleeping with other men. She was doing this, and I'm like, what is happening here? Healing. I had to take my time to say, okay, because before then I had broken up with him a couple of times, right? I'd broken up with him a couple of times. But each time I broke up with him, I was just expecting that he will come back and apologize and we'll continue. So if I had waited a while, like a couple of months, I saw that okay, he was not coming back. After my anger have subsided, I'll just go back and we'll continue. Go back, I kept on doing that nonsense for a very long time. But when the breakup happened, I had to practically go online, go on YouTube and search how to move on from a breakup, how to heal from like I had to search these things practically. And I found some helpful videos. And I found a therapist. I found a therapist that would transform my life. Her name is Kathy Morton. If anybody needs any of her resources, I could actually share it here. And that was when my healing journey began. Healing helps us break free from trauma cycles. If you don't heal, you end up repeating the same patterns, the same painful patterns. And it's not just in friendships, it's not just in relationships like romantic relationships. It shows up in your friendships. It shows up in how you treat yourself. Breaking up from my ex taught me a lot about myself. Healing from that experience made me realize even most of the friendships I've had, why they ended the way they ended, what led to this, what led to that. It made me see a lot of patterns, even in my even in my childhood, even in like the way I was raised by my parents. It took my life a whole 360-degree turn. Healing allows us to form healthy adult friendships. Many people, when they lose their old friends, they struggle to make new friends because they have unhealed wounds, they have unhealed traumas. They feel so fearful to trust anybody. They feel so scared of being vulnerable. They are so scared of rejection. But when you heal, you attract the right kind of people. You stop attracting takers. Like I would say in my community, most of us, we keep attracting takers into our life. Healing helps us to heal our inner child wounds. And it helps us build secure attachments. During my healing journey, I had to learn about different attachment styles, and I discovered that I was so insecure. I had insecure, anxious attachments. I was so insecure, extremely insecure, you know. And a lot of people don't even, I know probably some people might even be hearing this word, attachment styles, for the very first time, depending on how much you've known. Unhealed wounds will often cause these anxious attachments, avoidant attachments, fearful attachment styles. But when you heal, you will learn to love and be loved in a very healthy way. You will stop being insecure. Healing helps us reparent ourselves. Come on. If maybe you've grown up in a very toxic or with emotionally unavailable parents, your parents were not there, healing gives you the tools to actually nurture yourself. Give yourself that love that you do not have. Give yourself that safety that you do not have. Give you that validation that you did not have as a child. Healing frees us. It frees us from toxic relationships. Because many people stay in toxic circles of abuse because they have unhealed wounds. And they just believe that they don't deserve better. Like me, I believed 100% that there's no other man that was like my ex in this life. And that's why I could not leave him. I just believe that this is the only man that can love me. This is the only man that can this is the only man that can treat me right. But when you heal, your self-worth will be restored. You'll be empowered to walk away without looking back. That was one thing I wanted. I wanted to learn how to leave this bad relationship and never, ever, ever go back. Healing teaches us how to set healthy boundaries. Without healing, you keep tolerating disrespect. You keep overgiving. You keep staying quiet because you want, and trust me, every single point I'm mentioning are like real life experiences I have had. Healing showed me how much of a people pleaser I was. Healing showed me how it was showing up in my friendships, in like friendships, not just that relationship, but even in my platonic friendships that I had in my life. Healing helps us to stop unhealthy comparisons. So when you carry unhealed wounds, you measure your worth by other people's success. Healing encourages you to seek professional help. There's no shame. We live in a society where mental health is not taken seriously. So when you talk about them going to see a therapist, people just shy away from things like that because denial will keep you stuck. Healing begins when you acknowledge that you need support, whether it's therapy, whether it's coaching, whether it's a mentorship. Healing is when gets to the first step to healing is actually acknowledging that, okay, I actually need support. Healing affects everything. It makes you a better romantic partner. If maybe you are in a relationship or you are married, when you don't heal, you start projecting your wounds on other people. So let's say you were rejected as a child. It now makes you very clingy, or you are afraid of abandonment, or you are always suspicious, or you are controlling, or you are all these people that have a very high wall that you've built, or you have low self-esteem. Healing helps you build trust, communicate openly, and love from a place of security, not fear. Because I realized that all through most of my growing up, I was loving from a place of fear because my parents were emotionally unavailable when I was really young. So I was just loving based. So when I found this one person that was interested, I held fiercely onto them, so scared that, oh my God, if this person leaves me, my life is going to be ruined. For some of you now, you are already mothers. Healing makes you a better parent because unhealed parents will often pass their wounds down to their children. They're going to be very harsh. They're going to neglect their children. They have the perfectionist mindset. They're going to be emotionally unavailable. This is what happens when a parent does not heal. And you know what? Traumas can actually be passed on through DNA. Even up to the fourth generation, traumas can be passed on. So a child can be born and the child has never been traumatized. And simply because of what the forefathers have experienced, you see them feeling depressed, you see them feeling sad, you see them experiencing some sorts of things simply because of experiences that are not even theirs directly. Healing transforms not just you, but including the people that are closest to you. It makes you love safer, it makes your parenting gentle, and it makes your relationship stronger. So this leads us to the question, how can you heal? So the way we heal is actually by first, we need to acknowledge our pain. Most people live in denial. They don't even want to acknowledge that you have been hurt, right? We don't even want to acknowledge. You cannot heal when you deny your reality. You need to acknowledge your pain. That is the first step. You need to acknowledge it. You need to acknowledge it. Owning it. I'm a big advocate for owning it. I run a podcast. It's called the Owning It Podcast. Because if you do not accept that this is what has happened to me, you are living in denial. You are living in delulu. You need to acknowledge the pain. That's the very first step because that's where healing starts. The second step is seeking support. Seeking support. Therapy, safe communities. Thank God for a community like this one where you are able to bond with other sisters and talk with them, ask questions, and you will get responses. Mentors, faith. You must seek support. You cannot do it all by yourself. God bless my friend Amaka because she held my hand through in most of the darkest time of my life last year when I was trying to get out of the mess, called a relationship. You need to forgive yourself and forgive others. Not because they deserve it too, but because you deserve it. It's not because they deserve it, but because you deserve it. So you need to, first of all, forgive yourself. I know you were stupid, yes. Like me, I've forgiven myself. My childhood traumas of being abused as a child. Okay, I know I was really young. I was helpless. Maybe I was supposed to tell my parents I've forgiven myself. Okay, my relationship with my ex. Okay, I was young, I was 21, I was ignorant, I didn't know any better. I thought he was good for me, but he was not. I have forgiven myself. And I've also forgiven the people that were involved. The people that traumatized me. This is even the hardest part for most people. Forgiving those that have hurt them. They find this one so hard to do. But the truth is that forgiving someone is letting a prisoner go without realizing that the prisoner was you all along. So you don't forgive them because they actually deserve, but because you deserve peace. The fourth point is reconnecting with yourself. I do this through journaling. You could do this through prayer. You could do this through mindfulness. You could start showing up for yourself. Start showing up for yourself. Maybe you want to take your self-care more seriously. Maybe you want to learn a new skill. Maybe you want to move to a new city. Please reconnect with yourself and redefine your story. The fact that you were abused as a child, the fact that you were through one toxic relationship or toxic marriage, or that the fact that you became a single mom does not mean that that is the end of your story. Does not mean that that is the end of your life. The only person that has the permission to write the story of your life, it is you. You are not what happened to you. There's this saying, what happened to you is not your fault, but what you make out of what happened to you is your responsibility. So you are who you choose to become. End of story. It's not who hurt you. It's not what happened, but it is your job. It is actually your job to give yourself healing because you deserve it. So in conclusion, healing is not just a one-day event, right? It's a journey. But every step you take towards healing gives you more strength. It gives you more peace and it gives you power. Your scars, they don't define you. You can actually find joy again. You can find healing. Those scars, those wounds that you've had, those emotional wounds, they can actually become evidence of your survival and a source of power. They don't define you. What happened to you is not your fault, but what you make out of what happens to you is actually your responsibility. Like, that is the end of story. Healing is something we all need in our lives. I don't know how, you've been hurt. I don't know what experiences you've had. Maybe yours is worse than my own. I don't know whether it's like a childhood trauma, an academic failure, career setback, a bad marriage, a bad relationship, a bad friendship, whatever it is. I just want you to realize today that healing is very, very important and that you can find healing. Hey, real quick before we end, if you've been listening and thinking, maybe one day I'll tell my story, this is your sign. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to be honest. Honest is a space for real people, real voices, and real stories. So if you've lived through something that changed you, grew you, hurt you, or freed you, let's talk. If you know someone whose story you find inspiring, an African woman you would love us to invite, tell us in the comments below. Email us at oninitpodcast1@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram at oninitpod_. We're waiting. The world needs your story, not a perfect one, a true one. Like this episode, share with your friends and family, comment the moments that got you the most or the lessons you've learned. Rate us a 5-star so that the episode gets recommended to more people. I'll see you in another episode.